The purpose of this video is to show you how to go from an initial sales contact to creation of a new installation work order. Let us assume for a moment that a customer calls in and says, or some prospective customer calls in and says that they're interested in getting service on our network. What we do is we go to the left-hand side over here and we create a new sales and prospect contact form, and we do that by adding a new form. On the new form, it shows first name, last name, company, address, apartment number, city, state, postal code, country, and there are multiple countries to choose from. Once we've put that information in, it'll actually select the longitude and latitude of that location. Then we can complete this by putting in their email address, their phone number, their cell phone number, and their work number. Last but not least, we get to pick a referral source, and it will automatically pick the prospect as the status, and we will be able to move on from there. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. So as you can see, the first name is Robert Nelson, no company assignment. He's at 200 Redbird Lane East. There is no apartment number. It's in Burleson, Texas, 76140, and it's in the United States. Once we put that information in, it will automatically identify on the map where that's located. Then we completed the form by identifying the email address, the work, the cell phone number, and the general contact number. We identified that the referral source in this case was word of mouth. And last but not least, we identified that this was a prospect, a sales prospect. If we would like to at this point, we can actually go ahead and identify exactly where the customer lives by clicking on this button right here, and we're going to edit using the map. So what we're going to do is we're going to identify the location exactly where the customer exists by using and moving the little pin to right on top of the location of the anticipated service. So I'm going to edit using the map. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to switch this over to a hybrid view so I can see the street and the houses on the street. And I'm going to grab this and I'm going to actually move it to the top of where the guy tells me the house is located. So in this case, he says it's the first house. There's a pool just to the left side, and it's got a little U-shaped, C-shaped driveway on the west side of the house. So once I've identified where that's going to be located, I will click when done. And now what we want to do is we want to qualify that location based on its elevation and its location in relationship to the access points. So in this case, this is like a two-story house. It's got a huge shadow behind it. I'm guessing that probably the roof line, that crest on that roof line is 30-35 feet off the ground. And so I'm going to go ahead and say if we use a 5-foot tripod on top of that, we're probably going to be at 40 feet off the ground. So I'm going to change the receive elevation level to 40 feet. I'm going to hit the go button. When I do that, it shows me which particular access points, I'm going to put this back on street so you can see it, but which particular access points can provide service to that location. I have 3 towers with 3 different access points that can provide service to that location. This one is basically right down the azimuth of the antenna. You can see the pie-shaped wedge of the coverage for that access point. This one is also very close to the access point, or just right down the azimuth of the antenna. And again, it has a pie-shaped wedge. And then we have a third one, again, very close to being right down the center of the access point. So in this case, I have 3 different line of sight graphs that I can look at. And clearly one of these can provide service to this particular customer. The tower is over here on the left, and these are actual relative heights above sea level. The house is over here on the right. The red line is the line of sight. The blue line is the first Fresnel zone, and then the green lines on top of the ground are in fact clutter categories, and those include trees and shrubs and urban development associated with that. The horizontal axis is in miles, and you can see that this is about 1.9 miles from the tower on the left to the home on the right. And if we look down here, you can also see that we might be able to provide service on this particular access point. This is DE05, but we are getting some intrusion right down here on the right where the clutter is actually interfering with the line of sight. And then the last one, of course, is at a considerable distance. However, we are getting considerable penetration into the line of sight. Can we provide service to this location? Absolutely. CV1 can certainly provide service to that particular location. And so we can tell the customer at this point that, yes, we can provide service to that location. So since we can provide service to that location, we're actually going to go ahead and create a new installation work order. We'll come down here to the bottom of the sales contact form and click on work order. It'll bring up the work order contact form. The very absolute first thing that you have to do if you don't want to have to repeat some of your work is select a date and a technician to complete the work. So I'm going to click on the Edit Date Technician button. If you do the stuff in a different order, when you click on the Edit Date button, it will not have saved the information on the work order, and you will have to re-enter it. So the very first thing you have to do is click on the Edit Technician, and let's identify a date and a time. So let's go ahead and make this for Monday the 23rd. We'll pick Monday the 23rd, which is right down here. And we'll pick the time to be, let's do this early in the morning. We'll come in at 10 a.m. And that's the beginning time. And then the ending time on this work order will once again be on the 23rd. And it'll take us about an hour and a half to complete. So we'll do that by 11:30 a.m. And we'll go down here and we'll save, we'll see who is going to do this work. We pick the time and the date, but we do need to identify the technician. So the time and the date is here, the technician is located here. I'm just going to identify this as an unassigned technician. Unassigned technician provides us the ability to tell the customer that they need to be present at the location from like 8 to 5, and during the day as it becomes convenient for the technicians to actually do the installations, they can do this on their own time frame. And so I'll go ahead and create that. It'll take us back to the work order. There are several different panels here that we need to complete. The first panel is the contact form, and it has already been completed. It carried the data in from the customer contact form: first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, phone numbers, and email addresses. The next item that we have to complete is the billing section. The billing section, as you would expect, has a first name, a last name, an address, city, state, zip, phone number, and an email. And you can choose to copy, if it is the same from the previous customer contact form, you can just press the button here and it'll copy that contact information. The program has the ability to select from different companies if you want to assign this to a different company. I'm going to go ahead and assign this to the Demco, the Demco, and I'm going to identify that this is going to be just an email statement for that particular customer. In addition, we can provide anniversary billing, or we can provide consolidated billing. If I put this as anniversary billing, then what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to change that to the 23rd. I'll change the charge date to the 23rd. So this is the day the invoice is going to be created. That's the day that it's actually going to charge. If you want to make it sooner than that, so for example, you want to make it you want to send an invoice, say 7 days in advance. If I can subtract that in my brain here, that makes the invoice date on the 16th and the charge date on the 23rd. If, on the other hand, you want all of your customers to receive an invoice, say for example, on the 20th, and all of the customers to have credit cards and checks due on the 1st, then you can do that. You can change the charge date to the 1st, and you can prorate between today's, well, in this case, it'll be the 23rd. You can prorate for the service between the 23rd and the 1st of the month, at which point the customer will have another invoice that's due, which will be created on the 20th. So if we were to do the installation on the 23rd, what it would do is it would create a prorated invoice between the 23rd and the 1st, and since we're already past the date that the invoice should have been created for next month, it will create a second invoice for the total amount of the recurring charges, and it will identify that invoice as being due on the 1st. We can go ahead and select a username and a password. And then last but not least, on this panel, we can identify how the customer is going to pay. If they're going to pay with a credit card, you can put the credit card number in here with an expiration date. And again, this will verify that the card number that you're putting in is actually correct. Or you can select an electronic check format and put in an ABA routing number and a checking account number. Or last but not least, you can put in a check cash payment. In this case, we're going to leave it check cash. The next panel that we need to look at is plans. We can at this point talk to the customer, prospective customer, and ask them what kind of service plans they want. In this particular case, we can convince this particular customer to take the Residential Family Service 2 package. If for some reason, say for example, this was a charity and you wanted to give them some sort of recurring discount, you could identify the recurring discount at this location. So if the Residential Family Service 2 pack is $99.99 a month, then we're going to give them a $10 recurring fee or a recurring special discount. And the monthly would be it would be $10 off. It'd be $89.99 instead. At least you can also add a promotion at this time if you choose to, and we'll talk about promotions in a different video. And then finally, we have to select the technical type. This is going to be either a wireless, a fiber, a DSL, some sort of CMTS cable connection, an Ethernet, or a dial-up. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select wireless. And what that does is that opens up the next spreadsheet. We have to open that up in order for us to be able to save this work order. So in order to save the work order, the first thing you do is you hit the Edit Date Technician. Then you verify the information coming in from the sales prospect. Contact form is correct. Then you go through and you identify what the billing information is. You pick the company, the tax group. I didn't pick a tax group. So there's a sales tax group for that. That sales tax group, by the way, would be for the purchase of hardware, for example, if you needed to collect the full price on a piece of equipment that you're selling to the customer. Then we pick the invoice date, the charge date. We identify if it's prorated or anniversary billing. We select a username and a password for them to get into the customer portal, which is going to be located on your website. We pick a payment type. We go back to plans. We identify what service plan the customer is going to get. And last but not least, we identify that it's a wireless plan. We can now save that work order. When we save that work order, it's going to do a couple things. First of all, it's going to put all that data into the program, and it's going to record and save that information. In addition, it's also going to email a copy of that work order to the technician who's going to perform the work. And last but not least, it's going to send a reminder to the email on record for the prospective customer to remind them that they need to be at their location for some specific period of time because the technician will need entry into the house. Very good. Thank you.